Believe it or not, Fedor Gorst moves his head during his stroke. His timing is not textbook, and when he draws the cue ball, he breaks every rule you have been told about good fundamentals. And yet, he is a world champion. So either everything we know about fundamentals is wrong, or Fedor Gorst knows something that most players are missing. I tested 3 specific elements of his game to see what actually works for an amateur player like myself. And what I learned kind of flies in the face of everything we've been taught. And maybe it makes me a better player. If you're stuck trying to copy perfect form and wondering why it's not working, boy, do I have a video for you. Here's what I did. I spent some time trying to isolate exactly what makes Fedor's game a bit different than what we were told it's supposed to look like. And I found 3 elements that kept on showing up. Now look, I'm not saying we all need to do these things, but when a world champion consistently breaks the fundamental rules we're all taught and still dominates, there might be a there. My coach Demetrius likes to say, I don't have rules, I have tools. That blew my mind when I first heard that. It's not that it just sticks, but the better I get, the more I realize how true that is. And that's what these 3 elements are, tools. So I took them to my local pool hall, tested them, paid attention to what worked, what didn't, and why. And one of them I may just incorporate into my game from now on. So the first element I want to talk about in Fedor's game is his cue tip position. Most pool instructors will tell you when you address the cue ball, you line up your cue exactly where you plan to strike the cue ball. If you're hitting low, address it low. If you're hitting high, address it high. Match where you address your position on the cue ball to where you plan to strike the cue ball. Simple. But when it comes to draw shots specifically, Fedor does something completely different.
Does he have to draw this? He starts at the center, then comes low, or is he pounding around?
He puts the tip at center ball, not low, center. Then when he delivers the cue, he dips his tip down and strikes the bottom of the ball. His cue tip at address and contact are different. Dude, what the hell? We're not supposed to do that. When I first noticed this, I thought, this can't be right, no way. But every time I saw him draw the ball, he kept on doing it. So I tested it for myself. And honestly, felt kind of weird at first. It made the transition between forward and backwards really feel awkward. I could feel my elbow position changing on the backswing to account for the cue tip movement. And then after getting used to it, making a few balls, I kind of realized something. When you address the cue ball low from the beginning, your eyes are locked in looking downwards at the cue ball. Just try it for yourself. The lowest you can get down on the shot is actually when your cue tip placement is higher on the cue ball. So what I think Federer is really doing is he's finding a balance where he can sight the ball more cleanly while still down on the shot. By addressing at cue ball center, then dipping down during delivery, Federer gives himself a more solid reference point. It makes it easy to know where center is, and then he can just trust his kinesthetic awareness to handle the tip placement during the stroke. So once I got the mechanics nailed down a little bit, I started feeling a little bit more comfortable with it, and less tension showed up in my stroke because I was never jacked up while drawing. Now look, I get it. It's just an inch or 2 of movement. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that it really did get me confident with sighting the ball cleanly before pulling the trigger. And if you need anything when drawing the cue ball, it's confidence. Now look, this isn't easy, right? I didn't get my tip placement as accurate as I would like to most of the time. But I think if I stuck with it for a little while, I would eventually get there. Also, the way it changes your mechanics on the backswing is kind of crazy and not something any of us are likely used to. Am I gonna completely rework my mechanics to incorporate this? No. Do I think it's inherently wrong to address your cue tip position at a different point than you actually strike the ball? I don't know. Like maybe for most of us amateurs, it's not a good idea. It's not like I've played around with it enough to know for sure. What I will say is this might be worth experimenting for longer draw shots because of the trade-off between being able to sight the object ball better. By the way, if you're enjoying this content, go ahead and click that subscribe button. I am making more content every week, sometimes more. Okay, on to the next point. Now, maybe you've noticed this, but another thing Federer does when he draws the cue ball is that he breaks this cardinal rule we're all told, and that is to stay down through the shot. Keep your head still, don't move until the cue ball is long gone, and for most shots, that's solid advice. But on draw shots where the cue needs to travel downwards and your hand needs extra space to move, especially when you have an extension stroke like Federer does, might be almost impossible to do. So Federer ends up lifting his head during the stroke, not after, during. It's not a big movement, it's not jerky, but it's there. At first, this kind of looks like a fundamental flaw. After all, we are told that any movement will throw off the shot, cause a bad hit, whatever. Now look, I'm not arguing against that. I also try not to move. But Federer's accuracy on draw shots, elite. What, am I supposed to pretend I don't see that? Here's what I think is happening, and this took me some testing to understand for myself. When we're talking about guys like Fedor Gorst, especially this kind of stroke, you're talking about an extension stroke. Now, I did a whole video on this. It's a pop versus extension stroke, what they are and when to use them. Feel free to check it out later. But Federer's follow through from his extension stroke can sometimes be so long that his hand would probably just hit his own face if he didn't move it out of the way. But also on a draw shot, your cue needs to be traveling downwards. Now, before the keyboard warriors get on my back about drawing with a level cue and all that, just accept that you cannot have a perfectly level cue and draw the ball. It's impossible. If your head stays completely locked in position, it will restrict any movement past cue ball contact. So with an extension stroke in mind where the cue is traveling far past that point, yes, Fedor gets a lot more space to move efficiently, comfortably. Go ahead and try it. Your body's just gonna fight itself for the necessary space if you don't move it out of the way. Now, I tend to not use a long extension stroke when I draw, but I have tried it and here's what I found. Specifically, long, firm draws where I needed the extra space to move my arm comfortably, it wasn't really all that hard to do. Hard to get used to, yes. Anything is when you first try it, but you know what? It felt pretty good. Now remember, if you're gonna do this, you don't need a lot of movement, just enough to make space for your hand to move underneath your face. Also, keep in mind that Federer is using his head movement in conjunction with that first thing that he does differently, addressing the cue ball in the center before striking low. So it may be that you don't actually have to move your head as much as Federer does because your head is already positioned higher up at cue ball address. And keep in mind, this doesn't apply to every single draw shot, right? On soft draws, staying down is a lot easier because you don't need as much speed, as much follow through, etc. Again, this is not a rule, it's a tool. So the last thing that Federer does differently is actually not unique to Federer and maybe something that you naturally already do. Most pool instructors will tell you to pause at the back of your stroke, then deliver a smooth forward delivery. The pause is supposed to give you control, consistency, and give you time to adjust your eyes and start a nice, gradual stroke delivery. A lot of us amateurs try to do this. Pros do this. Fedor does this, except when he doesn't. When I watch Federer, especially when he's really locked in the zone, I notice his stroke timing kind of changes. Sometimes there's a pause, sometimes there isn't. It might not be random, but it's also not always situational. You would think a guy like him would have that rhythm down pat, but it's actually kind of inconsistent. That said, it is usually anytime tip accuracy is very important. So times when he's spinning the cue ball a lot, or he has to make a long cut shot and aim is really, really important, or when the cue ball is really close to a rail. Now, if you're gonna take anything away from this video at all, it should be this last point. In my view, as much as a pause on your backswing will always give you a solid base to start your delivery, a pause on your backswing can also induce tension. Now, I understand that might sound backwards to some of you, but just bear with me for a second. We get this idea that a compact, movement-free swing is ideal in all cue sports, but guess what? Pool and snooker are not the same. Pool requires control of elements that snooker doesn't rely on. Almost always more power than snooker does too. And on the other side, look at how pro 3-cushion players strike the ball. Almost none of them have textbook strokes. And they all strike the ball better than I do, for sure. So what are we talking about here? You always need to pause on your backswing. Come on. When you stop the cue at the back of your stroke, you have to reinitiate that movement. Fire the cue forward from a dead stop, and that can create hesitation, tightness, and potentially crooked delivery, especially under pressure. But if you don't pause, the cue stays in motion, the body stays warm, the engine keeps going, and that works much more naturally under pressure. The backswing builds momentum, and the momentum carries smoothly forward into the delivery. It's more athletic, more fluid. Actually, just listen to this conversation between Jeremy Jones and Scott Frost. They're having a conversation about Claudio Cacci's stroke. This, by the way, just happened a couple days ago at the PLP. one of the Matchroom tournaments.
You know, first time I saw him back out here, I'd mentioned to him, I said, "Oh, you changed your swing a little bit." And he said, "Yeah, I took away the pause in the back." He said, "The pause in the back, no good for pool. Totally different dynamic than snooker." And I told him I totally agree.
We won't get into it, but the pause in the backswing can cause so many issues that you're consciously making a decision once that cue stops in the back, and now the brain has to tell your hand what it's going to do. Just not the right move. These players have gotten away from that.
You know, I just kind of go by other sports as well, to where the transition is the hardest part of the swing in every sport where you change directions. And if you're pausing in the back or have something like that, not saying you can't do it, but you have to make that start happen on the downswing.
Exactly.
Like you were talking about. And that's a hard proposition in my opinion.
There you go. If you don't believe me, at least believe those guys. I might not know what I'm talking about, but they definitely do. Now, for me, I notice especially when there's less space to move the cue, like when I'm on a rail or I have to focus on tip accuracy for shot making, getting rid of that pause really does help. And full disclosure here, I've actually been implementing less pausing in my game for the last few months outside of trying the other things that Fedor does. One thing that sounds backwards, but has absolutely changed my game as of late, is this single thought. The uglier my stroke, the better I hit. Look, I know that's awful to say and it's not the reality, but for me, mentally, it works. In the past, I was so obsessed with what my stroke looked like, having to pause, making sure I was frozen still after striking the cue ball, having a straight follow through, all these things I thought were supposed to make my game better. But once I started focusing on the tools that I needed to improve my game, the less I started relying on the rules that told me what my stroke had to look like. That's my story. It doesn't have to be true for you, but it's true for me. So here's what I want you to take away from this. Fedor breaks rules that a lot of instructors will say are absolute, and yet he is one of the best players in the world. That doesn't mean the rules are wrong. It just means the rules are guidelines, not gospel. I don't have rules, I have tools. Thank you, Demetrius, for saying that. It has become a guiding light in my pool game, and that is exactly what these three elements are all about today. Tools that might work for your game or might not. But understanding why something works gives us amateur players the freedom to experiment and find what fits our game. I mean, isn't that why we love pool to begin with? It's a fun game. Let's have fun with it. I definitely had fun making this video. And if it helped you think about textbook fundamentals differently, go ahead and tickle that like button. It does help me make more videos like this. And let me know in the comments if you already do some of these things that Fedor does. I'm curious if any other amateurs are looking at this stuff. Remember, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to show you what I have tested as a fellow amateur pool player, what's worked, what didn't, and you decide what makes sense for your game. If you're with me on that journey, subscribe. I respond to pretty much everything in the comments, so drop one, let's talk. Thanks for watching. Happy shooting.